Albert Berger, producer of both Little Children and Little Miss Sunshine. Robert Lawrence, producer of Letters from Iwo Jima. John Killick, producer of Babel. And Graham King, producer of The Departed. And please welcome our moderator, Los Angeles Times reporter, Patrick Goldstein.
Thank you guys for coming this morning. This is a great panel. I hope everybody has seen their films. There are some amazing pictures, and I'm going to simply try to ask them some interesting questions and challenge and maybe provoke them a little bit. I want to confess that I went to film school and all I cared about was directors. Like a lot of people that go to film school, I thought they were the auteurs. But I've covered the film business for a lot of years now for the Los Angeles Times, and I have come to have great respect and regard for the true powers behind the throne, producers, who are not only important, but I think very underrated in the contributions they make. I remember when I was a young reporter, I was once talking to a producer who was much older and wiser than myself, and he was doing a film with a director that I worshipped, and I'm sure I was quite awestruck, and I said, "What's it like to work with him?" And he said, "Well, 85% of the time I want to kill him." And I said, "What about the other 15% of the time?" He said, "The studio hopes I do it." And it's true. But these guys, I don't think people value producers enough, because I don't think we really understand what they do and how many things they do, from developing material and getting involved with raising money and attracting talent and handling studio ideas and interference, and of course solving all sorts of logistical nightmares. I could go on, but I want to ask a couple of general questions to everyone here, and then I have some specifics for everyone. Almost all of you have done some other different things in your lives before you became producers, and I know most of you have watched other producers in action before you became one yourself. I'd like to hear from some of you, what do you think is the one quality that makes someone a good producer? Don't be shy, guys.
I would say an interest in collaborating, because as a producer, you're involved. If you're the type of producer that's involved from the beginning of a project to the end, you are mixing it up in one way or another with everybody involved in the project. And you have to. Filmmaking, everybody says is a collaborative medium, and you have to enjoy that. Kind of dealing with different people in different arenas and mixing it up.
I guess I'd say elastic analytical flexibility.
You have to add persistence to so many of us are involved with projects, whether it takes a year or two if we're lucky, or 10 or 20 if we're not so lucky, to stick with it and push through and forge it into existence. That's a quality that I saw in producers early on that I knew I had to be part of my approach.
Okay. No, I will. Do you think the Academy decision was unfair?
Well, the only way to answer that, I think, is to say that, there's two institutions or organizations, the Producers Guild and the Academy, that over the years have been attempting to come into convergence in the way that they deal with producer credits. And unfortunately, as of 2007, they're not fully in convergence, or maybe 90% in convergence, in that the Academy accepts the PGA accreditation process, whether it's or whoever they accredit. It can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3. But as a reaction to 1999 and Shakespeare in Love, they don't accept 4 or 5, no matter what the merits of the case are. So I wouldn't use the word unfair. I'd say unfortunate.
And also, I think it needs to be said that we produced this movie. We produced it with 3 other people, and we've had partners on many films that we've made. On Cold Mountain, there were 4 of us. On Election, there were 4 of us. And in each case, you have to figure out how to work with people. But on Little Miss Sunshine, this project started when Ron and I found the script and brought it to a financier and brought the directors in. And from beginning to end of this, we were centrally involved in producing this movie. So, the Academy has different rules, and they had to somehow figure out how to bring it from 5 down to 2 and 3. Yes, and Ron and I are a producing team, and that brings a whole other set of complications to the table. But we have an ampersand in between our credits, and but the simple fact remains, whatever the Academy determination was, we produced this movie. And
I know that when I talk to producers, one of their big complaints is that talent managers often put their names on films as a producer. And from their perspective, it's largely because the manager has brought the star to the project. So Judd, let me put you on the spot. Is Jimmy Miller a real producer, or is he a manager taking a credit?
Well, I think, since we weren't nominated for the Academy Award for Talladega, which was a surprise, I don't give a shit. I think that, it's different in comedy because comedy is really about the people who get the joke. And when you're developing a comedy and producing a comedy, you need people who can create an environment where funny, magical things can happen, and you need to get all the right elements together. And the people who are managers are the people who are ahead of the curve on who's funny and who should be working. And so someone like Jimmy, who it's ridiculous how well he's done finding the next comedians, whether it's Sacha Baron Cohen or Jim Carrey. He's a really, really funny guy that handled a massive producing job. I mean, if you can imagine working with NASCAR on a comedy, and what those daily negotiations are, trying to convince a enormous sports machine why a man kissing a man is okay. I mean, this was a massive producing job. So yeah, Jimmy worked his ass off, and we both, I moved down to Charlotte. Jimmy was there most of the time, and it was a lot of work. So, but fuck him, I deserve all the credit. I got the trailer the whole time we're writing my next movie, so
Now, Jay Roach on the far end, let me ask you a similar question on Borat. Sacha Baron Cohen is a producer. On Meet the Fockers, Robert De Niro was a producer. On Austin Powers, Mike Myers was a producer. They have their acting credits. They have many of them have writing credits. Why should they have a producer credit also?
Different reasons on each of those projects. I mean, Mike's an easy one. He comes up with a character, writes the story, finds the writers to write with him, spends months in prep, obviously in the shoot, and then spends a lot of time in post, and is the main guy willing to take on the studio. And Mike is a producer through and through. Sasha's, just now starting to take that on, and sometimes cast members, especially when they're creating their own characters the way Sasha and Mike do, make themselves producers to